everybody. I didn't want to act like it never happened. I know I was asking all of you to do what you could, and I thank you to any of you who watched the video and tried to turn the tide at the last minute for Marcellus Williams, who was executed for a crime he did not commit. There's absolutely no evidence. Republican Governor Mike Parsons of Missouri refused to even extend the time to prove this man's innocence. There's literally no evidence of him murdering this reporter. Her name was Felicia Gale in 1998. And Felicia Gale, just so you know, the woman he was accused of killing, was actually investigating Mike Parsons, who is the now governor, about his role in gasoline, pricing, misusing, law breaking. And one of Marcellus Williams' ex-girlfriends, was going to recant her statement, reportedly attempted to recant her statement prior to her death. This man is in his 50s. Even Gale's family has also argued against this man's execution. They called for a life sentence. Now, granted, I think those people were hurting, but there's no evidence. And just so you know, the Williams family has been receiving death threats. They're receiving death threats after being in mourning and having their loved one executed for a crime he did not commit. And I don't care. I can feel myself getting there. But you know what? If you're going to be angry about something, you got to be angry for the right things. Mike Parsons, you ain't going to never have a good night of fucking sleep. Just know that. You got blood on your fucking hands. You have blood on your hands, and don't say shit to me about them conservative, white, evangelical Christian values. Y'all don't value life. This is the same man who, by the way, in case you were wondering, back in 2021, who pardoned those white protesters, those white people, I'm sorry, who pointed guns at Black Lives Matter protesters. He pardoned them. He didn't have any problem doing that, right? The racism is so obvious, and we cannot be blind or uninformed, because the internet has helped democratize the access to information to a large degree. Or at least, we have to at least try to do these things. All right. So my prayers are still with the family of Marcellus Williams, and we're going to keep praying for y'all and pray for any kind of justice that you all can still get in the aftermath. But I do know God is not mocked. When a man soweth, that also he shall reap. So I just wanted to do that. It is Friday. I hope everybody's week went well. If not, at least to my people who work Monday to Friday, we at the end. To my people who work over the weekends, as I know many people have to, we praying for you. Hang in there. If you're watching this video, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. All right, Eric. Let me tell y'all something. When I tell y'all, I don't care nothing about Eric Adams. I don't care nothing about Eric Adams. Okay, New York City had the first time ranked choice voting, okay, during the primaries back in 2021? No, 2020. All right, in terms of the primaries and who they were going to nominate. And I could have 5 choices. Eric Adams was not on my list even of the 5, because there was like 9, 10 people running. I was not impressed. Let me tell you something. If you don't ever believe anything else I say, never trust a black cop. Don't trust. Please tell me how any black person can put on a fucking police uniform in 2024 with a clear goddamn conscience. You can't trust a black cop. And I'm sure there are some good ones out there. I ain't met them, but I'm sure there's some out there. Nevertheless, I'm just saying, generally, I am okay with making this blanket statement. Don't ever trust a black cop, because a black person that signs up to be a part of the police department, I feel like Tupac at the time, he was like, how the fuck can any N-word, put on a cop's uniform in 1995. Like he was like, the thing is, you part of a system, and that's how I understood it from the gate. Mayor Eric Adams of New York City, who I think is a complete embarrassment. Anyway, I cannot stand when people are inarticulate and in positions of authority and power. Okay? And he is all three: inarticulate, in a position of authority and power, and wields it like someone who is very insecure and carries on. He was for continuing stop and frisk, like bringing it back, okay, which disproportionately affected African American and Latinx people, especially males or male appearing. Stopping them, making sure they don't have weapons because they look suspicious. All things that go back to a legacy of slavery and surveillance on black people. He was talking about that before he was even elected. Okay, so the hell with him. And it's always those kind. It's always those kind, like Bill Cosby, who went on a 20-year tour talking about giving a pound cake speech, how black people name their kids the wrong things and they don't go get educations, this, that, and the other. And the whole time he had been raping women. That wasn't the first time we had heard about them allegations in the 2010s. That's the first time that stuff got caught up with him, and it was the age of the internet. This is moving kind of funny. All right, y'all stay with me. All right. So that's why I don't feel nothing for Eric Adams. It's always those type that want to be all moralistic. All right. So Eric Adams, okay, according to Slate.com, was indicted this week on 5, that was yesterday, on 5 federal charges related to bribery, wire fraud, and accepting straw donations from foreign officials, specifically those in Turkey. Sounds like somebody else I know, like the former president. All right. Anyway, the acts detailed in a 60-page indictment. Oh, man, you got to be careful how you treat people, bruh. From the Southern District of New York, span a full decade of Adams' political career, dating back to his tenure as a Brooklyn borough president and extending up through his current mayoral re-election campaign. He pleaded not guilty to the counts on Friday, which is today. All right. So he's saying he's not guilty, just like Diddy is saying he's not guilty. But I don't feel like going there with Diddy. Diddy has really, truly opened Pandora's box. I'm more mind-blown, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time. It really unnerves me. And I've said this to you all before. I'm not even here for people who think, oh yeah, because they're rich, the Harvey Weinsteins, the Jeffrey Epsteins, the Bill Cosbys, that once you get so rich, you just keep trying to go to these different extremes. No, they don't. There are people rich and poor who have done horrendous sex crimes, and there are people rich and very poor who don't do that either. There is something very, very wrong in your background that makes you do that to other human beings. Like, it's mind-blowing to me that people like R. Kelly and Diddy can do so much individual damage. I mean, actively assaulting people. We're not talking about just people having sex. We're talking about, really raping people, drugging people. And it's mind-blowing to me. It really is. It's mind-blowing. So anyway, let me, because it keeps glitching. I don't want it to keep doing that. That you can do that kind of harm to people and not feel anything about it. But Mayor Adams, who was the same one who told people during the snow day in New York this past winter that they were going to still have online school. Let me tell y'all something. People do not do online. People should have never made that a thing. And that goes back to Mayor de Blasio. New York's mayors have always been corrupt. Okay? Okay? New York is a corrupt city. Okay? There was a point in time when the mob was at its height that the mob got 25 cents out of every single dollar that went through the city of New York. Do you know how much money goes through New York? And not just because things are hot. Okay, so it's always been a corrupt city. Now, he is the first one, to have this indictment kind of stuff going on. But anyway, miss me with the I'm black and putting all them old ass black people up behind him. First of all, you can tell he's out of touch. And shout out to the people who showed up. I think they were part of the Black Lives Matter grassroots group of New York. I'm not sure. I know they believe that Black Lives Matter. I can't remember exactly, but they had Hazel Dukes, who was the former president of the NAACP here in New York, who's like in her 90s. And she was up there basically like going out, you know, up for Mary Adams and saying, wait for court before y'all, excuse me, tear him down. You know, basically chastising the black people who are holding him responsible, which seem to be people 50 and younger. Because all he had was them old black people. Half them black people didn't even look like they knew what day of the week it was. It was giving Joe Biden. And that woman with them tight curls in her hair, first of all, anybody with a hairdo like that, you can't trust them. All right, moving on. And Hazel Dukes is letting them know, and she was like, we're not here to criticize him. And whoever had that bullhorn and said, yes, we are. Yes. Yes, I know I'm a plant to New York, but I love it when New Yorkers go hard like that. Okay, so we had that going on. Excuse me. Let me take this off as I go in. So it keeps, yeah, okay. All right. So Eric Adams is going on and on about how he's not guilty, and she's trying to shame people. And she was like, we need to wait till we see the day in court. I'm talking about Hazel Dukes and other old black people that are up there. Why is it that black people all of a sudden have such strong faith in the legal system when black people in power get into trouble? And I'm not talking about like a little trouble. Y'all know good and well, all the stuff that Eric Adams has done instead of being a mayor, none of this is hard to believe. Damian Williams, the assistant attorney general, that black man has been very, very busy. Okay. Y'all are giving him way too much to do. You think he want to help do all this? You think he don't want to go home and get some sleep sometimes? He got to sit up here and answer for all of this, and everybody's looking at him every which way, and you trying to take down the black man. Trust me, that is embarrassing for a black man with some sense. Okay. He don't want to do this either, but y'all leaving him no choice. And not only that, people been looking into it. It's not like he's individually looking into it and all that other old kind of stuff. Anyway, but you can't win for losing with some people. All right. So, did y'all know, excuse me, and because I'm getting over a cold, because you know everybody's sick. It's always like that whenever, you know, at a point in school when the weather starts changing. All right. So, did y'all know Eric Adams put up a flyer of himself? When we talk about going back, okay, to him needing attention and what I perceive to be a level of narcissism, which is why he can say and do the things that he does, claim not guilty, because he really thinks he can mind fuck people into not seeing what they're actually saying, the same way Diddy thinks he can do it, the same way R. Kelly thought he could do it. And they have good reason. I mean, they've been getting away with it for longer. Not Eric Adams so much, but you get my point. So Eric Adams, and I had to follow this up because I had read this. Y'all know Juicy was like Notorious B.I.G.'s first major single, 1994. All right. Now, I remember seeing clips of the video, but I was young. I was like in kindergarten. And I told you my parents kind of limited some of the stuff we were able to watch, and for good measure, right? Eric Adams, if y'all go back to the Juicy video, at 1 minute and 37 seconds, because I went and I looked for it, because I said, ain't no way in hell. Y'all might just be making up stuff on this man. At 1 minute 37 seconds to 1 minute 40 seconds, there is a flyer up on the street light sign, you know, walk, go, of Adam's younger self taped to the spotlight. When a man is doing his pull-ups in the video, like they seem to do in New York, that's very common in Harlem for everybody to get their cardio on the, you know, the lights, but whatever. And he was doing that just to get attention and get notoriety. He had actively allowed his flyer. He wanted it in that video. And had given Diddy a key to the city. That wasn't just no random stuff, then, huh? And then in the next second, just because I went back and watched it, because I wanted to make sure there wasn't no just some BS I had read. He's in a Juicy video. Right? And then they have Diddy in the next scene. Misa Hilton's right below him holding a baby, which honestly looks completely different to me now. Because I remember first time really seeing the Juicy video, like, I may have been like a teenager and stuff. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I wasn't into it like that, and I was a Tupac fan. Anyway, Misa Hills are blowing with their son, their, other son. And Diddy is up top dancing with this big cross of Jesus Christ on there. And I said, something about that hit different. It hit different. And a lot of these people get so arrogant, and Diddy ain't just get like that. And I'm one of them people miss me with somebody did it to him. I'm sure they did. Just like, I believe the story that R. Kelly had been, molested and things like that. But everybody who's molested doesn't do that. These are people and I'm not saying, I don't know if Diddy was, but I'm just making a point. You've seen men abuse women. This is something that you do because you feel empowered by being able to do it, by dehumanizing other people. I'm not defending that. All right, so let me tell you something. I knew Eric Adams was going down eventually, but I remember thinking this summer while I was teaching summer school, and I was like, ooh, I want this election to be over. And I said, but at least I get to vote Adams out. And then I said, wait a second. I looked it up, and I was like, damn, we elected him in 2021? Why 2020 and 2021 might as well have been 1 year for me. That was a lot in New York. It was a lot teaching. It was a lot crying after each class because I had no idea what was going on in the world, and I had to help these kids get through it. Anyway, so why was I saying that? Oh, yeah. Because I thought we were going to be able to vote him out this year. That means he only been in office 3 years, and he... You ain't shit. So anyway, whenever you start to see, and we've seen this before, he ain't the first political person like this, but whenever you start to see the people around somebody going down, everybody get ready to go down. So the New York Police Commissioner, Edward Caban, had resigned because he was having federal investigations, and he said it's a distraction, and it may have been. But you being investigated for a reason. And if you weren't guilty, you wouldn't have given up that kind of city position. The man appointed head of schools, David Banks in New York, announced his retirement just in time for all these charges coming up. Additionally, this is part of his close political circle, people with positions though. David Banks' domestic partner, Sheena Wright, also investigated. Mayor Adams' former head of fundraising, Breonna Suggs, all of them were part of at least 3 separate federal inquiries into their dealings. Once stuff like that starts happening, everything else, I'm telling you right now, it's going down, and not in a good way. So Adams was allegedly giving city contracts to his personal friends, the Banks brothers. David Banks, the guy I just told you about, whose domestic partner also had a job, Eric Adams, and his brothers were getting city contracts to do work. And I'm like, y'all would call this man a friend? I have a problem with people just being that fucking inarticulate, disrespectful, rude. He's nasty. Oh yeah, with the snow day, when he was like, oh, well, if parents are too lazy to put their kids on a computer, then that's just a sad commentary. First of all, the words he was using were, first of all, grammatically incorrect as it was. 2, suppose you have more than one child and you have only one computer in the household, if that, and everybody's Wi-Fi does not work the same. Say what you want about Governor Andrew Cuomo when they came out a year later and said none of that stuff true. And I don't mean the women who accused him. I mean the actual courts. I knew that was bullshit anyway. And I said that. It was on my Instagram page. I was like, watch, a year from now, they'll come out and say it wasn't true. But their apologies aren't ever as loud as their accusations. Moving on. So we have that. And the whole thing crashed. The whole New York City Department of Education, it all crashed. Everybody's Wi-Fi and everything. The teachers couldn't get on because it was too many people trying to do it. But he calls himself, after de Blasio, oh, well, we figured out a way for kids to have school on snow days. That is ridiculous. Just let a snow day be a snow day. We're going to make sure they work. And meanwhile, all the corruption just between them two, they have their nerve. He was at the gym. De Blasio was at the gym more than he was at the office. That's not a joke. Look it up. Anyway, Eric Adams, kick rocks. Goodbye. We don't want you. Please call a special election. Please give us somebody that makes sense. All right. So this doesn't surprise me at all. Like, it's bad when New Yorkers, regardless of what they think, and I'm gonna tell you what pushed him over with the vote, especially, was those white conservatives who don't like to call themselves conservatives here in New York. Him having that stop and frisk stuff, him being heavy on crime, and he was saying crime in New York is out of control, this, that, and the other. Well, he should know. He's been participating in it. Okay, shout out to Adam M. Press from the Jacobin magazine who wrote that. So him facing an indictment for abusing public office for private gain was something we all knew, okay, or had suspicions of. The mayor surrounded himself with convicted felons and elevated unindicted co-conspirators and those who conspicuously expensive taste, and those with conspicuously expensive taste, this is Adam M. Press talking, into senior roles in his administration. As Adams often says, he values loyalty above all else, and he practices what he preaches. After all, what's a repeated pattern of law breaking between friends? I'm telling you, the pieces on this have been great. But all of this stuff that he's gotten caught in, like, why was he over in Israel, trying to, he thought he was going to be president of the United States. That's why he was doing all of that, jumping over to Israel, making sure that he identifies with the Israeli cause while they murder Palestinians indiscriminately. The fact that he thought he could be president offends me. Okay? It offends me. All right? I don't like it. So he had and he was walking around wearing this noticeable bracelet that said hustle when he went over there to Israel. I can't. Okay. Yeah. So by 2020, and this is according to the Jacobin article, it was hard for Adams' fellow borough presidents. So in each borough, there's a borough president that you vote for that goes on behalf of the borough, whatever, to discuss the former cop's jet-setting lifestyle without sounding accusatory. Well, he always has this money to go abroad. He was friends with what's the fake bishop that might as well have staged that robbery. I still don't believe that was real. I don't. He was just a punk. And then he was the kind of, remember he was pushing that woman for asking him questions in the church. He went, not even asking him questions. He tried to assault her. He did. He pushed her down and everything. That was no big deal. He could do that. But then he had everybody, get down. They tried to take my wife. Why'd you have all that jewelry on and stuff anyway? But he was the mayor's mentee. Don't quit playing with me. Quit playing with me. Okay. So, I don't care what happens to you. I don't. But I do know that in the indictment that was unsealed on Thursday, it alleges in the paperwork that the mayor performed favors, whatever that means, for Turkish nationals in exchange for $123,000 worth of international Turkish airline plane tickets and luxury accommodations, as well as use these ties to solicit illegal campaign donations from them, which generated matching funds from the city. Y'all only knew how many taxes come out of my check. Like, I'm actually embarrassed to tell y'all. Because if I tell you, you're going to be like, why the fuck are you still living there? And that'd be a good ass question. And I don't know that I have an automatic answer. Yeah. So, which generated matching funds from the city, part of the $10 million in public money his 2021 campaign received. But I'm going to tell you why I really have a super duper problem with him. Okay? Because the main thing that he's been doing, which pisses me the fuck off, is every year encouraging the rent hikes and city council approving it, while nothing has to be improved on paper, which gives landlords more power. Talking about we have a housing crisis in this city. It don't have to be one, and I've talked about that before. Stuff should be, if there's inflation, what the hell are you raising the prices of rent for? You know people can't pay it. Eric Adams was big on cutting budgets for schools. I can't tell you how many people had to sign petition after petition, I know, me included, to keep up the New York Public Library's funding. And the New York Public Library, unlike other places that I know I can speak because I've lived other places, whether it was Georgia, whether it was Maryland, whether it was California, people do not put those kind of resources into their libraries. The New York Public Library system, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best in the country. And I've lived other places. These are places I've lived. To know people don't put that in there. And kids, and you have like, big authors that come, whether it's the Schomburg, whether it's the Brooklyn Public Library, like there's real resources. And when you pay those extra taxes, make sure kids have some place to go during the summer. Even if they playing around while they're supposed to be reading, there's something for them to do that doesn't get them into trouble. He wanted to cut that. He cut funding towards grants for childcare. And anything else he could get that he knew would criminalize people, working people and poor people, or make it hard for them to live, forgetting that we vote for him. But it's 8.3 million people in this city. There's plenty of people with money, there's plenty of people without it. So fuck him. That's what I'm getting at. All right, moving on from Eric Adams. Have fun. Go hang out with Diddy. You can give him his key back once you get there. Whatever. Okay. So I came across a story today, and it is something that is deeply unsettling to me, but very much in the line of things that I have an interest in helping and hoping to eradicate. So there was a young girl. Her name was ZiyahHarris, and she was 13. She has been missing since January. I had never heard this name before. And this is what I mean when I talk about, I reference the book School Pushout and the school to confinement pipeline of criminalizing black girls and the sexual assaults that happen against black girls as children, and end up putting them, on a track or into these trafficking situations because, circumstances like the Crystal Kaiser, the Piper Lewises, you name it. So ZiyahHarris apparently, and I just came across it, they finally indicted somebody that they believe killed her. They have not been able to find this little girl's body. This little girl was 13. Okay? This is Detroit, Michigan, Highland Park, part of Detroit. Okay? Now, her name is ZiyahHarris. They still have not found her body, but the prosecutor has managed to come up with a case against this man, Jarvis Butts, who apparently they can prove that the grooming started when she was 11. He was in a relationship with her aunt. And ZiyahHarris was staying with her aunt at the time. It is not clear to me what happened to her mother. Because the mother is not mentioned at all at any point in time. Her father, they said, was putting up flyers trying to find her, so on and so forth. But the grandmother was the legal guardian, and he wasn't. But he ended up dying of a congestive heart failure in the process over the summer. And it's really sad, but I'm going to just read from Fox 2 Detroit, but that's not no, that's not what I wanted. WXYZ Detroit, okay? Because this is really heartbreaking, and it's concerning because it happens to black girls all the time, and we don't hear about it. And this is not to compare too much, because we still don't hear a lot of things that happen to young black boys or black people in general. But the losing of our children so young is the problem. So this is from WXYZ Detroit. Family still seeking answers 4 months after ZiyahHarris disappeared. Okay. So this was published back in May 2024. I had no idea until today, by the way. So it's now been more than 4 months since 13-year-old ZiyahHarris stepped off her school bus and disappeared. This girl would have been actually 14, maybe a couple of weeks ago. Her family's still waiting for answers. They said Ziya was last seen on January 9th at the intersection of Cornwall Street and 3 Mile Drive. The primary suspect in her disappearance is a registered sex offender and is currently being held in Wayne County Jail. He was already in jail, okay, for being a sex offender. They had caught him up on other stuff. And then this woman had a relationship, her aunt, and there's other members of the family who said they called CPS, they called the authorities. They said, look, there's something going on. It's not right. And she was also pregnant. And they found on his search history on the phone how to abort a child, abortion pills, how to get rid of it, how to get rid of babies and stuff like that. She was 13. The grooming started when she was 11 in 2022. And she has other people in her family that said, we reported this, nobody would do anything. Or after we reported it, they'd be like, well, we have to essentially catch him. They were like, he already has a history of that, right? Which is sad. All right, anyway. So Ziya's family, and this is back in May, is expected to gather outside of the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice on Thursday for a rally. Her biological father, his name was Mervyn Jenkins. He was fighting for his own life, but holding on to hope to find his little girl. He was already dealing with a lot of health issues. So Mervyn Jennings, 46, said he's tried to reconnect with his daughter for the past 8 years. Jennings said he was only reconnected after 2 Detroit Public Schools Community District police officers tracked him down. So I'm not really sure what's happening here. And he said the police officers, and so the issue has been the school police officers hadn't been reporting this girl's absences to the major authorities of Detroit. This was a kid that wasn't even missing school, then all of a sudden just disappeared. She had a heavy social media presence. Her friends didn't know, nobody knew. But they said they had seen them that day, right? But nobody took it seriously, and this is the problem. When it happens to little black girls, even if there are black people in charge, it's not the same thing. All right, so when's the last time you've been up to your daughter's school? I said, my daughter's school? I don't even know what school she goes to. That's already a problem. I said, I've been looking for her, and they looked at each other, and I was like, what's going on? They said, your daughter's missing. He's dealt with serious medical issues in the 8 years away from Ziya. Jennings said he has congestive heart failure. And in April, doctors gave him only days to live. While the prognosis was slightly improved, Jennings needs a new heart. I believe my daughter was pregnant. Yeah, he said. A lot of the family thinks Ziya was being sexually assaulted by the suspect. We're not naming him because he hasn't been officially charged in the case. Jennings also said he talked to Ziya's older brother, and he told him the suspect had been molesting Ziya since she was 12 years old. And so all I'm thinking is, how the fuck do adults know about this? Report this to the authorities. The aunt she's living with, and it brings me to today. The guy, Jarvis Butts, has been indicted. Okay, and he is in custody. And he's 41 years old, by the way. Okay? The brother knows she's being molested. The aunt that she was staying with at the time, her father, and I'm sorry that he was dealing with health issues, and he did die over the summer. And, all respect to the dead. But how the fuck do you not know what school your daughter even goes to? So there's a series of neglect here. And it's unacceptable. And at the point in which people are in these situations and it's being reported, people need to do something about it. And I'm always curious as to how they have all these rules around what foster parents need to be and what kind of homes they need to live in. And this is the kind of check they get. And then they always, when there are foster parents, and she wasn't necessarily in foster care in the same way other kids are, but I'm like, do y'all really look these people over? Because these kids should have somewhere to go, and it should be with decent people. All right. So that's the father. To me, all of this sounds like a great deal of neglect, and there's way too many people who knew what was going on. So, as the prosecutor, her name is Kim Worthy in Detroit. She was giving her press conference yesterday. I was watching it today. But she was saying, please, she said, and this is in no way to blame the family. She was very clear about that. She said, please, I want everybody just across the board to please understand to be extra careful. This man had a history of targeting women for the purpose of targeting their children, especially their female children. There was already 2 girls that will also be included in the evidence for this case to prove that he has a pattern of doing that. And the man who was reporting on Court TV even said this, and I agree with this. He was like, I don't know what it is, but with these pedophiles, sexual deviants, whatever you want to call them, he was like, they don't get better. They seem to get worse. And they do. Like I said, it's that R. Kelly Diddy stuff. They get more arrogant. And these are just regular people without the money. They get more arrogant when they get out. Like, I'll do it again. You have to realize it's not rehabilitation in prison anyway. It's not a correctional facility the way, the Quakers intended. But a drug dealer, even a murderer, is typically not a murderer over and over again. Sex offenders, people who molest children, do it over and over again. Because you also have to have the testimony of these people. Children are scared. You can threaten them. You can groom them. So here we have this 13-year-old girl pregnant, living with her aunt. And when her other family members were asking about it, her response to them, according to the other aunts, was, well, I don't get in my kid's business. I said, hold up, wait a minute. And I do believe somebody was ignorant enough to say that shit. Bitch, if you have kids under your care, it's your job to stay in their business. I don't know what the fuck this is, all this agency and this, that, and these other. We have more problems with kids now than we ever had. All this, we're going to take care of this, that, and the other. I saw another teacher talking, and he was like, a lot of problems in school is that there is too much empathy. How can you have too much empathy? You can. To the point where it excuses people, and it doesn't require expectations. All right? So she had a cousin, ZiyahHarris' cousin, her adult cousin, said she was not shocked to hear, and this is according to Detroit Fox too, was not shocked to hear that 41-year-old Jarvis Butts was charged with sexually assaulting and murdering the 13-year-old girl. We suspected him from beginning, considering his background and things like that. Butts is 41, like I said, is facing charges of first-degree premeditated murder, second-degree criminal sexual conduct, and child sexually abusive material for the murder of Harris, Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy announced on Thursday. The evidence shows overwhelmingly in this case that she is in fact deceased. They have not even been able to find this girl's body. I was like, what the fuck did he do with a 13-year-old's body? Like, to get rid of it. Like, even her father was like going through a river and stuff like that, like passing out flyers every day. The team was familiar with Butts as he had children with her biological aunt. Okay? Text messages showed them sending sexually explicit things. And I'm just sitting up here like, what the fuck could a 13-year-old have to show you? You sorry, son of a bitch. And this is why, the stuff with the judge in Detroit, wasn't it Detroit again? When that judge locked that girl up or, tied her up for falling asleep and saying she had an attitude and being disrespectful. Attitude oftentimes in black girls specifically is misperceived. One, because of the way we deal with things and how we are always considered antithetical to any form of femininity in young girls or women. It's really anxiety manifesting itself. And turned out that girl was homeless. And now everybody has to know because she's been publicly humiliated. He didn't ask her, can you come to the front? Or just leave it the fuck alone. That girl was struggling. And this is the kind of stuff that people are dealing with every fucking single day. And so instead of telling them don't have an attitude, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying not to correct people when they behave a certain way, but there was no point in humiliating her and debasing her that way. Another girl like this could have been sitting right there in that fucking courtroom who wasn't on trial, and neither was the other young lady that we found out was homeless, going through that same shit. And the best the judge could do was berate them. That's where you need empathy. Now, there are people in the family who say that he is not the only one they think should be indicted. In fact, there are people who say, the aunt should definitely be indicted. She knew and she kept letting him come around. And they said, look, then you need to let the authorities. So it's already been some level of admission. And Worthy has also charged, Kim Worthy, the prosecutor, charged Butts with sexually abusing 2 other children who were under 13 at the time. Those kind of people are never just one-offs. They do that to everybody. One of the victims is now 20. So you know he's been doing it for a long time. Was allegedly abused between April 2012 and April 2014. While the other victim, who is now... While the other victim, who is now 11, was abused from July 2015 to July 2017. You do the math. And then you wonder why people grow up screwed up, not knowing how to deal with relationships. And then the questions from these mega churches to all of a sudden all of these armchair psychologists who get their degrees online. Yeah, this is what black women need to do. Or, yeah, you're creating broken homes, but you taking care of your kids. This is what happens when you make having a man central to somebody's worth. And I don't even mean that like in an excuse for the I'm talking about even young girls who think that guy thinks she's mature, but has been taught that that's going to be some kind of a prize. Something's wrong with you if you don't have a man in your life. And we've got to do better in terms of what we can do, because everything you can't see through, right, and be prepared for. But in terms of us talking about it, and then being aware of what we're seeing sometimes, and hopefully interpreting it in a way that can be useful and helpful. So those are my thoughts for now. I'll be back for Love After Lockup so I can laugh a little bit. Sorry, I just have germs and stuff like that. But anyway, I'll talk to y'all soon. Be sure to put down what you think in the comments. I really am curious. Just be sure to be respectful. See you soon.